meeting to order. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd like to remind you to please silence your phones if you have them or any electronic devices. Has everybody had an opportunity to read the minutes from our June 6th meeting? And if so, are there any additions or corrections?
With that said, I'll move that the minutes be accepted as presented.
Okay.
Second.
The second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of approving the minutes for our June 6th meeting, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nay. Motion carries. Is the one to be signed?
Yes.
Okay, I'll pass them around to be signed, please. Is there any mail that the members of the council would like to share that they received? If not, we'll move to our county attorney. Okay. I know we have nothing on the finance committee report, correct?
No, we don't.
And Shirley, do you have anything to report in your committee?
Well, we did meet with Michelle Dudley at Community Corrections, Kay and Holly and myself, and we kind of used that as a baseline, and we're going to be meeting with a couple of the others. Again, this was with the idea that identifying a few places in the county handbook, both the courthouse employees and the 24/7 employees, so that we can bring them up to the latest laws that have been passed in the federal and state arena.
Okay. Now, the handbook is a commissioner thing, so are we working with the commissioners on that?
Say again, we did, we spoke with them before we
Okay.
did to begin with.
I just want to make sure that they're aware of what we're doing.
Right,
Okay. Anything else, Shirley?
no.
Thank you.
Wait, I'm sorry, we did have a safety and wellness meeting Friday, 2 different meetings. And it was suggested that maybe we change the date so that it isn't on a Friday, because I think maybe we could get greater attendance with less stress because of the shortage of people in the offices. So
Okay.
I think the committee will be discussing changing the regular date. Still want to have the quarterly meeting. And there's the blood drive put on by the health department is the 13th. So I think that's next Thursday in the courthouse parking lot from 11 until 3.
It is the 13th.
Correct, Thursday the 13th.
Under old business, August meeting, I talked with Mr. Pawsey today. We had entertained the idea, or I think we agreed to have our council meeting at the county fairgrounds during the week of the fair. In discussing with Mr. Pawsey, logistically, it doesn't seem like it's really going to work out too well. The places where we would be able to have it would be limited to like maybe the Miller Building and the Roberts Building, if that even works out, if the schedule is free. The other thing is it's really kind of off the beaten path. It's really not in the fair mix. And what would we gain by really doing that? Other than
Expo Hall
the,
would be another alternative.
Sorry?
Expo Hall.
it's got 4-H stuff set up in there.
There's still extra room in there.
So, don't know if it really makes sense to do that, for the setup and tear down. So after discussing it with Mr. Pazzi, I talked to our council vice president, Dale. We kind of hashed it over a little bit, and I think the consensus between the two of us is just leave it where it is, which is here, and it'll probably be a short meeting, and then get up to the fairgrounds like we've done in the past. I know that surely you've got a commitment to help, but I think we're still going to go ahead and have the meeting, but that's not my call. So I'd like to entertain any kind of discussion that there may be for the other council members as to what the best course of action would be for this.
I yield to the judgment of you two. If you don't think it's prudent or feasible, then we'll just not worry about it.
I didn't talk to Halsey, Frank. Mike did, and by his description, the logistics don't sound good at all.
Well, I can remember many times, though, that we did have interviews up at the fair when we were campaigning. So I know it's not the same opportunity for people to come and speak. But I would like to say that I brought this up last December prior to the calendar being made, and I still feel strongly, because this is the Fayette County Free Fair, and people come from many counties around to participate, that I think just like yesterday was the 4th of July and we moved to Wednesday, I would like to move it to the following Tuesday next year. And that way we could have a win-win.
Well, we're talking apples and oranges. We're talking about a national holiday, the 4th of July, versus, fair. Our counterparts in the city still have their meeting on Monday, and, we know when we sign up for this, being council representatives, that we have certain meetings, and I appreciate what you're doing and volunteering your time, but it'd be probably no different than me saying, I'm going to help at the soup kitchen a certain night, and therefore, can we reschedule? Because I think we open a can of worms for everybody. And again, I know what you're doing is a great thing. That's my own opinion. That's it. And I'll do whatever the council wants to do. If they want to move it, that's fine. That's just my thought. And John did say that the setup of the TV and the audio isn't a major deal. It's just, I think we thought that by doing that we could get some of the public involved, but I really don't think that that's going to happen based on past meetings we've had.
Surely there's one other consideration. Depending on what we decide to do tonight, if you move the meeting back a week to the following week, you could very well be in budget hearings that week. Which
I agree.
which
I'm
we'll have to
like
decide
Frank.
tonight.
Seriously, I'm like Frank. I bow to your greater wisdom, and, we understood. We knew what night the council meeting was on when we took this project on, so.
I don't know if it's greater wisdom.
Pardon?
I don't know if I would necessarily say it's greater wisdom.
Well, I wouldn't either, but.
Since you asked. In theory, I like being at the fairgrounds, however, it logistically just makes sense, that's where I'm at.
In theory, I think it's a great idea. I just don't see how it's going to work out. And like Shirley said, Meet the Candidate thing is more of a one-on-one kind of thing they do over there by the First Aid Building, and they've done it there. Those that were involved in the candidate debate forum, whatever, last year, I think it was, I think Kay said that there wasn't many people there. And then that was in the pavilion. John made that was on a Friday, which may be the only night that the pavilion would be available, and it's kind of winding down. And as he shared with me, people don't go there for those kinds of things. They're going there to meet friends, to see animals, to see their children, participate in different things, and the rides and the food, and just the social interaction. And this is hardly a social interaction, so at least a fun one from most people's point of view.
Maybe we could work to find an alternative place where it won't be so difficult logistically. I think the Expo Hall is a good place because it is an opportunity to showcase what's going on the Expo with the exhibits. So, you know, if we can have an opportunity to showcase some of their exhibits, and that's just something to think of. But again, I appreciate your consideration, and we'll try again next time.
I think we made a motion at the last meeting to move it to August, do we not?
It's in your minutes, yeah.
Is it done?
We did, yes, there was a motion, we didn't vote.
Okay, so we would probably need to make a motion to change it back, to have it here, I would imagine.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion on changing the location of our next month's meeting back to the courthouse? If none, all those in favor of the motion to move the meeting back from the fairgrounds to the county courthouse, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Thank you for your cooperation on that. New business, Diana Wright, tax abatement compliance resolution.
Each year, it's a housekeeping issue. A few years ago, there was a tax abatement approved for Falmouth Farm Supply by the county council. Each year, they have to fill out a CF1 form to show that they're in compliance with their tax abatement. Currently, today, they have 3 more employees than they said in their SB1 that they were going to have, and their salaries are quite a bit higher. So I recommend you approve the tax abatement resolution approving the abatement compliance for Falmouth Farm Supply.
This isn't the only abatement we have, is it, Diana?
It is for the county. It is the only
You-
abatement the county has.
Okay, the only one for the county.
Yes, yes. The city council approves theirs that's done in the city, and then the county approves the ones that are in the county.
Auditor Jane, do we have a resolution number for this?
I'm sorry. It'll be 17R3.
17R3.
I'll move that we approve County Resolution 17R3, Tax Abatement Compliance Resolution.
I'll second.
We have a motion on the floor and a second to approve tax abatement compliance resolution number 17R-3. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor of approving said motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. I have one
you.
question for you, if we could. I know it's a city thing, but we do get asked time from time about Wayzata and where things stand. Are you able to talk about that at all? If not, it's fine, but
That's not a normal tax abatement, so I'm not in charge of that, so I don't have that information, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
I just thought I'd ask because we do get asked at times, I don't know if that's where you were kind of going with that, Dale? When you were asking about other taxes?
Yeah, well, in general, I know there's a number of abatements, and I just really forgot that this particular one is the only one we're responsible for. It is helpful for me to know every now and then if everyone is in compliance, but that's what we depend on you for, and if you say they're in compliance, I've got to take your word for that.
I did give you the numbers in the memo that I sent out. Those numbers are confidential, so you
Okay.
just,
I didn't mean to put you on a spot.
That's
I just
okay.
thought I'd ask. Okay.
it's just, according to the law, we're supposed to have this approved by the end of July, so that's
Okay.
why the big hurry.
All right.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Dates for budget hearings. Traditionally, I think we've tried to do it, with the exception of last year, the second week of August.
Traditionally. Jane will be back here in a minute. I'll talk a little bit about this, or I'll tell you what I know about it. If she has anything to add to it, when she gets back in my room, she can let you know about it. Okay, the auditor has her workshop for DLGF on July the 27th. Now, if everything goes right there, and she is able to get all of our proposed budgets advertised and uploaded to Gateway that day, and we can, that stands as our budget advertisement. We have to advertise 10 days before we start budget hearings. So if everything can be advertised on the 27th, potentially we could begin budget hearings on Monday, August the 7th. If there's a day or two delay, you just move on down the calendar. If there's a one-day delay, it would be Tuesday, August the 8th. Now, we'll get Jane's opinion on the 27th when she gets back here in a second. But I'll add to that, according to the DLGF calendar, October the 22nd is the last possible day that we can hold a budget hearing session. Reason being, our budget hearing sessions have to adjourn 10 days before the deadline to adopt the 2018 budget, which is November the 1st. So, since October the 22nd falls on a Sunday, it's not likely. I hope we won't be here on Sunday the 22nd working on this. So theoretically, might as well figure Friday, October 20 will be your drop dead date for budget hearings. In a perfect world, we ought to be able to come in here and get this done in 1 week. But I've never seen that happen yet. So that's your options. It's up to you when you want to start. But we're getting a faster start this year than we did last year, though, for sure. Last year really kind of put us in a crunch because we didn't get a workshop at the DLGF until it was late August, if I remember right. A full month later. Jane, I was explaining, we was talking about budget hearings, I just explained all the various dates that we have to deal with, and you verify. I'm telling them right on this.
Whatever Dale said was right.
Your workshop with the DLGF is July 27th,
Yes.
and then if that goes right,
Mhm.
and you're able to upload to Gateway on the 27th, potentially they could start budget hearings on Monday, August the 7th. That would be give you the 10-day advertising space.
Yes.
I know it's an unfair question, but I'll ask it. Do you foresee any possibility of there being a delay in uploading? And if there is, we just have to adjust from there.
I mean, it all went smooth last year. We were able to have everything uploaded and advertise it while they were here that day.
Yeah.
So,
I've also informed them that Sunday, October the 22nd is the drop dead date for public hearings on the budget. So, because the adoption date will be Wednesday, November 1 is the deadline. So We'll have to figure we'll probably have to have a short special session for adoption. We normally do. So keep those dates in mind. So I guess your question tonight is, when do you want to begin?
Well,
I mean, if you-
did we start on Tuesday or did we start on Monday typically? Now, last year was I can't remember.
Last year was an unusual year. We may have started on Tuesday last year. Do you remember, Frank? Remember, Jim?
No, I don't.
Well,
since
Um,
I'm looking up-
for our two members, well, no, I shouldn't say two, should say one, because Kay sat through budget hearings last year. But for Holly's sake, I'll go through this. Our first 2 days will be spent meeting with department heads and elected officials. So we really don't get to the nuts and bolts of working out a budget until at least our third day. So you might as well figure on the first 2 days is going to be spent with all the various office holders and department heads and dealing with the raw material.
Sorry, I turned my phone on to look at the calendar. That's why it beeped at me. I apologize.
So
So when these meetings happen, please forgive me because I just am asking. I know that the 7th is a pretty significant project that's called the CARE project that I'm committed to, so I know I'm not available.
these are all-day meetings.
And they're all day, that's what okay.
Yeah, and I was in your shoes a number of years ago, and nobody told me, and I was kind of, what? You gonna do what? You don't have to be here. It's nice to be here, to hear what the department heads say, but we can always fill you in on certain things as well, too. So, me thinking, because the way we've done it in the past, like Dale said, we'll spend the first couple of days talking to department heads, and then after that, the budget committee will get together and we'll kind of make an initial run-through with the numbers, and then we'll gather the whole council back together, because it just tends to speed it up a little bit. It doesn't, it speeds it up a little bit as far as kind of going through there and making some recommendations. They're not, by any stretch of the imagination, set in stone, but what the budget committee comes up with, it's just kind of our first pass and to try and whittle the numbers down to where they need to be. You know, there's certain things that we just know automatically, okay, we take this off, because we just know we got to try to get down to bare bones, and then we might add stuff back in. So if we started Monday, that would mean we'd be done with the department heads and elected officials by Tuesday, end of day Tuesday. And Wednesday, I imagine the committee would meet Wednesday, Thursday, something like that. And then maybe the next week reconvene the entire council. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dale, but that's kind of what we've done in the past. And it seems to work well.
Yeah, we've done that, but I certainly don't want to cut anyone out of the fun.
I actually would like to be here. I mean, I'm just
Yeah.
saying, I mean, I don't have to be here, obviously, according to Mike, but I would like to be. I just know Monday, we are doing the CARE project where kids go back to school on Wednesday, and I had made that commitment
Yeah.
last year.
Well, don't worry, if you're not here that Monday, if you decide to start on Monday, if you're not here that Monday, you're not going to get fired. You're not going to get off that easy.
We'll have plenty of makeup work for you.
And it also involves Kay. I'm just throwing her under the bus with me because I know she's out that day too.
We know what time it has to end, but is there some reason it couldn't start the week of start Monday the 14th
Or we could just start Tuesday.
or Tuesday?
Yeah.
I mean, we're just throwing dates out there now. It doesn't have to start on Monday. We didn't start on,
Last year was Wednesday.
yeah, because it was So I want to say we normally we started on Tuesday in the past.
But I think it's important.
We
that
bumped
two
it past
be
the
here.
day, back a day, so I would say start on Tuesday like we have in the past. And go from there.
All we need is a general consensus, and I don't care. I don't care if we start on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday.
Right.
But that's,
Mr. President,
those are the dates we have to deal with.
I will move that we start our budget hearings on August the 8th, which is Tuesday.
Okay?
Second. And there will be a tiny bit I have to slip out because I made a commitment to Maplewood that day, but I can change it. But all day Monday, I am completely solid. So, thank you.
Okay, what time of
That's
the
fine.
day you want to start, Frank?
Well, since you and I are morning persons, Dale, probably about 6:30 in the morning, but
Dale will just be going to bed.
some of the others here are not morning people, so I really do think 10 a.m. is appropriate, if that's,
What time did we start last year?
No.
9.
9 a.m. is
Because then we can
appropriate.
get, then I think Jane can go off of her same schedule over time slots. Maybe easier for her.
That's fine with me, Frank, but even, as crowded as those 2 days are, we're only allowing each individual 20-minute sessions. Some of them run over and some of them don't need 20 minutes, so we'll have to hustle to get through them all in 2 days.
9 a.m. will be fine.
Okay.
That's
Did
right.
you guys want a wake-up call for that day?
I know, I'm usually awake a lot earlier than that.
Frank's an early riser.
Okay. So we have a motion on the floor to start our budget hearings Tuesday, August 8th at 9 a.m. Is there a second? I think
Second.
somebody did. Did Kay seconded? Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Oh, that'll be so much fun. Okay, additional appropriation from the probation department.
Hello, everyone. I put in an additional appropriation request for additional funding of $10,000 to probation superior line item for drug testing. Basically, in trying to do the budget as diligently as I can and only asking what I need for, I think I've under budgeted. In addition to every year, this cost increases. I think it just reflects what's happening in the community with drug addiction, continues to rise, which affects probation. We have 2 new officers also, so we're supervising better, more intensely, so we're doing the screens. I will comment that this $10,000 does come out of probation user fees, not out of county general, and we do have that amount available out of the Superior Fund.
This doesn't come out, these monies are coming from where?
That probation user fees that are collected throughout the year in the Superior Fund.
So it's not coming from tax money?
No.
Fund
No, basically-
4982, Frank.
Yeah.
Is there any way, Jenna, that you could pay for the judge's proper attorney fees out of that fund?
Absolutely not. No, it's by statute, actually, of what you can spend the money on. It has to be probation salaries and/or services of the probation department.
I was
They've
re-
locked that in.
I was researching that possibility a while ago. So,
I can give you, actually, I can look it up, the statute where it talks about what you can use probation user fees for.
Mr. President, if there are no objections, I'll move to accept her request.
I'll second.
We have a motion to approve the additional appropriation request in the amount of $10,000. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
I,
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries.
Thank you.
And before we get to the judge, I'm sorry, Madam President, I'm sorry I overlooked you. Did you have anything of? Next time, just throw something at me.
I wasn't in any hurry, so it's not a big deal.
I'm sorry.
And I'm here for an additional appropriation too, but I think you'll have to have a special meeting because I don't have the amount, but it's for the windows and the glass for the jail. And the vendor has not presented a bill to us, but we're hoping to get it done this month. And therefore, we'll need to have the money. So you may have to have a special meeting as soon as we get the invoice, because otherwise, he would have to wait until after your August meeting, and we want to get this done before then. So you might have to have a special meeting for the appropriations when we get the bill.
When do you think you'll have those numbers available? We can schedule a meeting.
I was hoping we'd have them today, but they have not brought us any specific invoice yet.
I won't be here next week at all.
Probably, we're hoping to have them done in the next 2 weeks.
I'll schedule a meeting for 2 weeks.
We'll do whatever we have to do.
I won't be here next week. I'm trying to do business, but
Once they get a number, I have to advertise it. It has to be advertised for at least 10 days prior to your
Right.
meeting. So,
you just want to let me know.
Yeah.
We'll
that's,
we'll have to do that because
that
there's
works.
no sense in scheduling for 2 weeks out. If
They don't
she
have-
doesn't get it for 5 days, then
Right.
we're no good. So
No
we'll
sense.
schedule as soon as we,
As soon as we hear something, I'll let
Right.
Jane know so she can contact you and get a date set
okay,
and advertise and all that wonderful things that we have to do.
okay,
But it's over $10,000 that we'll need.
all right,
Thank you.
thanks. Sorry, Your Honor.
Nope, no problem. Beggars can't be choosers, as they say, so here I come to beg.
It's the request here is for an additional 15,000. County, the name of the fund is the County General Pauper Attorney Fund. And typically, this is what I pay what we call the cover attorney, which your own county attorney here has done that, and his partner there, Mr. Bodwell, is typically the guy who does that, who shows up at all the initial hearings and discusses plea offers that the prosecutor is prepared to make to the defendants at the initial hearing. And we resolve about a third of the criminal cases in Superior Court in this way, meaning a third of the people who might otherwise, almost all of them really, might otherwise qualify for a public defender to actually be appointed to them on the regular contracts. No such appointments are made. The reason we are short on money this year is, frankly, we've just had quite an increase in the number of cases, I'm sad to tell you. So we're having, it seems like initial hearing, cattle call initial hearings with 6, 8, 12, 15 people at a time. We're running them Monday afternoon, sometimes Wednesday morning, Wednesday night. We just did 3 tonight before I came down here. And then we'll run them Friday afternoon as well. So it's almost an everyday thing now that we're having to bring over a group of people and change for initial hearings. And the prosecutor shows up to make the best deal they can. But the Ethics Commission's made it pretty clear that they want a public defender involved in that process. I'll tell you that they, as a general rule, they just frown on the whole notion of anyone pleading without an actual public defender appointed to them personally. Okay? And when we proposed this, that we would have a public defender there to answer questions, who would be owing nothing to the court or the prosecutor's office or anyone else, there to just be paid hourly to answer questions of the criminal defendants that seem to appease them, and they'll allow it to go on. I mean, the consequence of a decision coming from the State Court Administration's Ethics Division saying you can no longer offer pleas at initial hearings
the consequence of that is, I'm telling you, we're gonna have 2 public defenders probably, 2 new public defender contracts, because all of those people, 30 to 35% of the people who presently plead guilty to minor matters won't be allowed to plead guilty to minor matters at their initial hearings. They'll have to plead them not guilty, and I have to ask them, as the requisite statute requires, if they are seeking a public defender, and they're almost all indigent, so they'll say, well, yes, I suppose so, and then they're going to qualify, and then I have to appoint them an actual public defender of their very own. This will increase the caseloads to the point that there's no possible way to the current 5 contracts that we have could cover those individuals. It would be a massive increase in public and pauper attorney appointments if we didn't successfully plea out this many people at the initial hearing. So it's a substantial amount of money, but you know, if pauper contract's 50 grand and there's 2 of them, that's 100 grand. You spend 30 grand a year to not spend 100 grand a year. That's 70,000 to the good.
Judge, Mr. President, when we went to the State Hall meeting at the, in Shelbyville a couple weeks ago, they gave us a sheet of paper. It's from the Indiana Public Defender Commission, and Fayette County since basically 2000, has received $1.6 million in reimbursement from the Public Defender Council, if I'm reading this correctly. So the only reason I say this is so people will understand that Fayette County is being reimbursed at least partially for some of these costs. And correct me if I'm wrong, Judge, from what you just said, if someone were to not be represented by a public defender, then that sets the case up for an appeal, possibly, is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, they just don't want us doing it unless there's a public defender present there. We used to do it. When I was deputy prosecutor many years ago, a dozen or more now, more than that now, 13, 14. We did that. I would just go up there, I would just cowboy up myself and just show up and start slinging deals. And I would go out there personally. I mean, right there and amongst the chains and the BO and everything else, and just do it. But the then prosecutor, Mr. Fall, had a complaint filed by somebody about that, and that went up on a review. And one of the things they said was, they made it very clear in that opinion, they just didn't like us doing that. They just thought they couldn't point to anything in particular that was wrong with them, but it just didn't pass the smell test for them. All right? Like I was up there taking advantage of people, or whatever. Or there was an opportunity for that, since I'm far more knowledgeable than the average felon about what their rights are and what they should do and not do. And so to balance that out, instead of them just facing me alone, that's when we came up with this strategy where we were going to have, to placate the Supreme Court's ethics decision, to placate that decision, we were going to hire then hourly a public defender to just show up for that hour, hour and a half, maybe 2 hours that the cattle call is going on, and the prosecutor would stay out of it, would talk to the public defender, make pleas at the initial hearing, but hand them to the public defender, who would then go out and discuss them with individuals who were willing to discuss pleading at their initial hearing. In this way, you've isolated the prosecutor's office from any direct contact with the unrepresented defendant. Therefore, there could be no accusation of any implied or real harassment or intimidation or anything like that, which would be the basis for such an appeal, as you indicated, Frank. So, yeah, that's why we do it. That's been the case for, oh, time flies. That opinion came out maybe 7 or 8 years ago, 8, I don't know, lose track. That's when we switched from me just going up there and doing it by myself to this system now where we have a public defender show up and be an intercessor between the prosecutor's office and the defendant to eliminate those kind of criticisms that the Supreme Court had.
Jane, can we do an additional appropriation?
I'm sorry?
Can we do an additional appropriation?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a substantial amount of money, and I do apologize, it's down to $224.50, and actually it's not even that good, because there's been a couple of these, because I told you they come 3 or 4 times a week, there's been a couple of these that have come in, the public defenders come in on that balance, so actually, you have an accounts receivable that's probably negative. Actually, we're holding a few of these $90, $150 type bills from Mr. Bodwell. So it's really effectively zero at this time, slightly over mid-year. So,
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Can I clarify the answer I just gave you, Frank? I was looking to see how much we've been reimbursed from proper attorney, so I wasn't paying 100% attention. We can request it, there's no guarantee we'll be approved for an additional appropriation.
That was my point. Will
Yeah, I know.
Will DLGF allow us to do it? If not, can we tap into, and this is my suggestion, I don't want to, if everybody else decide, but can we tap into CleanCap for funds for that?
I don't know. I would have to research.
This is all above my pay grade, of course. You all can figure that out. I just wanted to emphasize the need and the reason and the consequence of, I mean, we can do that. It doesn't create a legal problem, it creates a financial problem. It creates no legal problem whatsoever. We don't have to do this at the initial hearings, okay? I can just plead everybody not guilty as a routine matter at initial hearing, and that's the way rich counties do it. Okay, if you go to Hamilton County, Indiana, they don't have a prosecutor up there with a janitor's cart loaded with files trying to sling deals at the initial hearings like that. Absolutely not. They don't care. They're rich. They just plead everybody not guilty, and people hire their own attorneys for one thing in a county like that. Often, we don't have that very often around here. And those who need public defenders just get them, and they just proceed with a pretrial schedule that goes on for months. And
But
there's nothing illegal about that, nothing problematic legally whatsoever. It's just it's going to cost a lot more, that's all.
But the ones who would normally plead guilty with, when they're first there, if you plead them not guilty, then they spend longer time sitting in jail, correct?
No, that's the other factor that costs a lot of money. Yes, pretrial detention will go way up. Contract pauper attorneys will go up by $100,000, and whatever the incremental cost of pretrial detention going up will also go up. So the lack of the 15,000, maybe it's a 10 to 1, maybe 10 to 1 when you count the cost of pretrial detention, but I wouldn't even put that in there. That's an indirect cost, but it certainly is a direct result, really, of pleading an extra third of the people not guilty when they might have otherwise pled guilty and be placed on probation or, some other disposition that was non-jail disposition.
Can we make a motion as conditional upon the approval of DLGF?
I think we should, I think with everybody else's concurrence, I think we should probably try that route first.
And then we're gonna have to have a special meeting again anyways to discuss. How long would it take us to get an answer?
Within a week, I would think.
Okay, so
They're pretty quick.
we could, if we're told no, then we can explore the possibility of where we're gonna get the money from. But at least running up the DLGF flagpole and then we address it again in 2 weeks or whenever we get the numbers from the glass or the commissioners.
Right. Well, like I said, I mean, we have a good relationship with the public defenders that are on contract here. I'm pretty sure I can get,
I mean, we'll work on it,
but people work on credit. So I don't think you're going to create a work stoppage situation here. I remember a time when I was a public defender in this county, I waited 14 months before to be paid for public defender work I once did. So a couple weeks, maybe a pittance by comparison. So,
that's because attorneys make millions of dollars.
right, yeah. In a kingdom long, long ago, that may have been true, okay?
Does that make sense to you, Dale?
Sure.
We also had a couple other things in here that were oddballs, odd ducks, you know. We had a deaf criminal defendant, so by rule, I owe him an American Sign Language interpreter. We had a non-English speaking defendant, and I had to pay for Spanish speaking public defender for him. That doesn't happen every 6-month period. That was odd, especially that we had 2 of those, and that narrowed into a time. We could go a year and a half without that popping up again, especially the Spanish-speaking defendants are not wildly unusual, but the deaf defendants are pretty unusual.
Okay.
So Mike, do you need a motion to
Yep.
wait on that? So, okay, I'm gonna kill it, I'm sure, but I'd like to make a motion that we run it up the DLGF path first, and then we'll revisit it when we come back together for the jail appropriation.
Okay.
I'll second the motion to approve the additional appropriation of the Superior Court.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Any further discussion? So the motion is to approve the additional appropriation request in the amount of $15,000, conditional upon DLGF approving it. If they don't, we will revisit it as soon as we possibly can. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries.
Judge, before you leave, I'd like to say that you do a very good job explaining the atmosphere and the type of business in your court. It draws a mental image
Well, I can picture it for you,
that
Dave.
even I can imagine, and it helps those that listen at home to these meetings.
Right.
Because I
Yeah.
think everyone feels like we're spending too much money on the courts, on the judicial system, on the criminal justice system altogether, but
Mhm.
it does help explain things when you're able to come and explain what's really going on in your court.
Well, thank you, Dale. Like I say, I would just apologize for letting this get away from me. In past years, this same little fund has not run out anywhere close to this early in the year, halftime show here this year. So I should have known when I had the deaf defendant and the Spanish-speaking defendant, those were excess costs, and I was going to run out quicker. I just kind of dropped the ball in that regard. So I'm sorry to come to you with a $224 balance in that. Should have come to you and foreseen that a little quicker than that, I'm afraid. So my apologies to this body on that issue.
You can't help those matters any more than we can. Business is just too good in your,
It is.
And you're
It's real
awesome.
strong over there. Real
so
strong.
maybe next year will be better, or you'll have less work. to
Yeah,
do
less
next
work.
year.
Yeah, less work.
Any-
I tell them all, I'm paid flat rate. I tell them every day when I go in there on the bench, hey, boys, I'm paid flat rate. You know, if you guys stay home and behave yourselves, I draw the same check. So
Yeah.
you're doing me no favors in there.
Any word on the drug court? I know that.
No, they haven't announced any of that kickback money that I described in the last speech, but anytime, here it is after the 4th, so they talked about early to mid-July, so I'm anxiously awaiting an email to pop up at any moment. I hope so. And there was some news too, I was informed, I think I mentioned this to, who was it? Saw someone of you out about, I can't recall, but we may be able to escape any sort of matching funds. Maybe it'll be 100% grant now, is what I'm being told, based on certain conditions or whatever. So, that's good news.
That'd be good.
So there's $25,000 that I thought you might be being asked for that I may not need to ask for, somebody else's money, so,
Good.
hope so. Any others? All right, then, thank you.
Thank you, Judge. We have no 144s. There are no patrons here. So, motion to adjourn?
I'll move to adjourn.
Second? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right.
Meeting adjourned.